Look at your little itchy skin.
Here's your.
Oh, thanks.
You got itchy skin?
We'll blur this out. It rhymes with my friend Nick Ronald.
I hit him perfect. I hit him absolutely perfect.
Running and gunning, and I think that's the only way we can do that.
Big old Maine smallmouth there. Caught it on a drop shot from about 28 foot of water.
The first 15 minutes. So today's the biggest day of Jordan.
Start again.
We stop doing things. Put all your things away. This is now Jordan's bow. I charged him extra for a friend fee.
Yeah.
This is the bow I shot last year. I only had this bow for like 6 months probably. It's a 2018 Darton Maverick 2 by Maine Archery, obviously. Great bow. I am switching a bow this year, which you guys will see in a later video. But we're gonna switch some things around. This isn't gonna be a full setup video, just for the fact that everything's pretty much set up. I have the nocking point, the rest is already on. We're just gonna swap out the string here, the cable, and all the accessories and tie in a new peep sight for them. So that's basically what we're gonna cover today. Okay, so first things first, we can get rid of all of the bow jacks stabilize or dampening stuff and the dead ringer with the bow jacks on it stabilizer.
Squeeze and pull. Yeah?
Sure.
Is that how you do this?
Yeah, don't rip my bow jacks.
How do you do this? Just like that?
Just like that, pretty much.
Success, folks.
Bow jacks. You guys should check it out if you haven't. I've used limb saver dampeners and stuff like that, and the bow jack stuff blows it away. This dead ringer stabilizer is really cool. Just untwists. You can actually make it into a handle if I got the shorter one, but that's the 8-inch one. And then this little accessory piece comes off.
So I got pretty lucky because Jeff shoots left-handed and I'm left-eye dominant. So where this is my first season with archery, I really wanted to train myself the proper way with my dominant eye. I think it's going to be a little strange for me to shoot left-handed at first, but it'll be something I'll get used to. I'm excited. I've been waiting for this day for a long time.
Yes. Next thing we're going to do is, I think we can just take off the sight without having to take off my quiver attachment. There's no real science to this kind of stuff. It's just bolting on and off things.
I got pretty lucky this year. Jeff was strolling through the old Walmart and found a bunch of accessories for super cheap.
Yeah, you can, at the end of the hunting year into the winter, you can find some super good deals at your local Walmarts. I
mean, just what, 2 weeks ago, we went into Walmart and this TrueFire. This
smoke.
TrueFire smoke release, normally I think it was $70 or $80. $9 we got this for. I was really looking for a thumb release, but for $9, I'll shoot a wrist release. And then we got the Trophy Ridge Joker 4. It's a 4-pin sight, set up for right-handed, but we're just gonna turn it upside down because you can do that.
Struggles of a left-hander.
Yeah, this I think was what? $17 or $18. Normally a $50, $60 sight. I'll take it. Then we got a quiver for super cheap. I found some Slick Trick broadheads for $17, normally $40.
I mean, you won't get the best selection by that time in the year. You know, everything's picked over pretty good, but
you could get lucky.
You can get lucky. He got really lucky. I think he probably got everything he needs really to hunt for accessories for under $100 probably, which is insane.
Yeah.
So next thing we're gonna do is on the QAD Ultra Rest, which is in my opinion the best drop away rest in the world. He wants a black pull cord. So I actually bought a new one and I'm giving him the one that was already on it, and they're super easy to swap out, so we're just gonna swap those out. So right next to where the cable goes in, there's a little hole there. There's actually a set screw that kind of holds the tension in on this cord, as well as keeps this thumb tab on there. So you're just gonna wanna loosen that up to take this whole unit right off.
Wow, foot cramp. Oh, God, arrow.
And then I burned the end, so I got to cut that off, and then that can pull right out. That can come right off for now, and you're left with just that little piece of metal. I'm going to do the same thing to the new rest to get that pull cord off. Alright, then you're going to want to grab a lighter, which I thought, oh, I did bring it. and burn the end of this cable, but you don't want to bend it round. You want it kind of be somewhat to a point so you can get it back in through that set screw hole. Burn yourself to death. Do it every time. Where's your stuff? So you just kind of feed it through. If you have a hard time with this, getting fishing line and tying it to the end and pulling it through works really well too. There she goes. So I always, when I set an ultra rest up or any drop away like this, I like to leave a little bit of extra tag end on this side and this side for fine tuning. If you were to switch this out between bows, you don't have to swap the string out every time because it is a little bit of a pain. But I'll just burn the end, and you don't have to reef on this screw and cinch it down as hard as you can. Just get it kind of a little tighter than finger tight and it should be fine. Also, just so you guys know, I am not a bow technician, but this is all stuff that you can learn to do at your house fairly easy. Goes back to saving a little bit of money to not have to bring things to a bow shop to have things done.
We love to save money.
Our wives like us to save money.
Because we spend too much of it as it is.
Yeah, these are not, being in the outdoors is not a cheap hobby by any means. You can tie in, a lot of times you can tie in your pull cord. I never did. I'm not a huge fan of it just because I can fix this. You know, if this was to break, I have extra ones and I can fix it in the field if I need to. If it's a tie-in situation and it pulls out for whatever reason or breaks, you're kind of screwed until you can get it to a shop and put a press on it to fix it. So I always use these.
Yeah, to tie it in though, you have to put it on a press and separate the string, right?
You don't always have to. You can tie it in.
Almost like a D-loop in between.
Yeah, and then just wrap your serving around it.
Yeah.
But really, if you're going to tie it on, you should tie it in with splitting your string and stuff. And we're not gonna set this quite yet, so I'm just gonna put it on there for now. So as basically the concept with these, if you guys have never seen a drop away rest, as you pull your string back, this cable pulls down, which pulls tension on your actual rest, and then as you fire it, it drops out of the way so that there's no contact. So that's pretty much it for that for right now. We will put your sight on. And again, anything you're putting on, you shouldn't be like putting all your pressure onto it. You can check it over time to make sure nothing's rattling loose, but
yeah, this is just beginner entry-level stuff for me, just because I don't know what I like and I don't know what I don't like yet. So instead of spending hundreds of dollars on sights and all the other gear,
which is easy to do,
yeah, I'm gonna start here and this will at least get me shooting.
And there's nothing wrong with entry-level products. You can go out and outshoot guys with $1,000 sights if you practice enough. So when you set up a sight, even your rest, you want everything. I always like to start with everything centered. So as you sight down the arrow, I try to put the string in the middle of my grip as well as at the top and bottom of my bow where my limbs connect. Try to center everything, look down the arrow shaft, and then try to line my pins so that everything's center. It's at least a starting point. You're not going to be drastically off if you do that. It looks like we got to go way to the left. Yeah, that's pretty good. Just get that somewhat snug down for now. There, that's a sight. So if you look down it, so try to.
So line.
Yeah, take your hand
this
off.
string.
Yeah, take your hand off the grip and hold it like down here.
Yep.
You want this string to be center of your grip, as well as center of your limb pockets, and then your arrow should be center, and then you look at your pins and everything should line up with that string.
They do.
Yeah.
Dead on.
So it's not always going to necessarily stay like that because, you know, there's so much micro tuning. Little teeny adjustments on bows, little adjustment to the grip, little adjustment to the sight goes a long way. So at least if everything's center on the same line to start, you're usually pretty good. I already know that my knocking point and the rest, like I said, is good. We'll get into more details on how to tie in D-loops and set up a rest when we get my bow. I don't want to take everything off and redo it because it's already set up. So, all right, now we can cut off my peep sight and put your peep sight in.
Does that terrify you when you do stuff like that?
Every single time. I mean, the nice thing about a bow shop is those guys do this every single day. So like you're gonna watch me struggle really hard to tie on this D-loop, and I've done hundreds of them. I do them 2 or 3 a year at the most. And my fingers don't always work good with little things. No. So.
You have a tendency to want things to be done before you start them. Mm-hmm. So the smaller the object,
the angrier I get.
big time.
And typically you're going to need a bow press to put in a peep sight, at least initially. I actually have access to one at my boss's house, so that's pretty convenient. But for this situation, all I need is that little piece right here because I already have my peep sight in there. So this you just put in here and rotate it. And it takes the tension off your string. And peep sights usually have an angle. You want that angle to be kind of pointed back towards you so that when you draw it, it comes straight.
Have you ever had a peep sight pop out?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
I drove all the way to Blaine's house, put my peep sight in, forgot my serving, so I came back home to do it, and it popped out. And that's a 45-minute drive.
Yikes.
So you see how that peeps at a, I don't want to call it a 45, but it's at an angle pointing back, so as you draw your bow, it'll come back. And then that outer ring, when you draw it back, should try to fit around your housing of your I want to call it a scope. It's not a scope. Of your sight.
There it is.
The best it can. All right, so we got to draw this.
It's low.
It's low. Keep it just like that.
Perfect.
So we got that figured out. Now I have a Sharpie. Yeah. And what you want to do is mark everything when you're doing stuff like this. So I'll just put a little mark right here, and then on the other side, right there. That way if anything moves while I'm tying in, I can kind of move things around. I know exactly where he's going to want it. We're good. Biggest thing, I guess, was setting up your own bow. You know, obviously you can only get it so perfect without a bow press and the right tools to do everything, so it isn't easy. So just don't be afraid to try stuff out. Nothing that you're doing here at this point is going to do any harm to the bow itself. So don't be afraid to try it. If you screw something up, just bring it to a bow shop and they can fix it for you. But it really is something good to learn how to do. That way if something happens in the field or you're on a trip and you can't get to a bow shop, you can kind of tweak things yourself. But now we're going to tie in the peep sight, and I'm going to actually zoom you guys in. I don't know what this knot's called. I can't remember. I learned it on YouTube a handful of years ago. Like I said, I'm going to still struggle tying it in because, well, I only do it once or twice a year at the most, so let's do it. Biggest thing you're going to want to do, make sure you guys give yourself enough serving. Trust me. I've gotten halfway through tying in a peep sight and not had even close to enough serving. All right, so do 4 loops. And I'm going to be probably blocking you guys a lot, so I apologize for that. Pull them nice and snug. And then hold it with your finger. Get rid of your longer end. Put your short end back over your sight, over your peep sight. Go back over 4 more times. Pull that tight. Then you take your tag, a small tag end, and you continue wrapping 4 more times on the underside of that. So now that tag end is just sticking out from there. And you can pull this tight once we're getting it a little more moved along, but for now we're pretty good. So then I continue to work down one side of the string. I do about 4 as well. And then once you pull that tight, I'll do one more. And I'll try to pull that one just into the peep itself. Trying to keep, that's why you want to mark those two, so that you can keep that same area. And then that kind of locks, once you get it pulled so it starts up underneath that string, so it kind of holds it in place for you and you don't have to wear your fingers out. Then I'll wrap around this a couple times. Pull good tension there, and I do the same thing on this side. I'll wrap once around, and I'll pull it up under so it seats itself, and then start working down the other side. Get it to about the same, and then pull that tight. And then come around this 4 times. And pull it, cinch it right down, and push it at the same time. Work those strands up. And then go 4 more times. And now the hard part. So then create a loop. Go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you have that knot like that. And you can lay your string across. I know you guys aren't getting a great view of that, but as you wind this way, it's going to go over, back over, and then unwind. It's going to basically unwind from this side and wind it onto this side. And then once you have just that loop there, you can grab your tag end. I know I'm probably blocking this for everybody, and pull that in tight. And then you're left with the tag ends. And so basically, if you get to a point where, at this point where these are, we're going to pull them pretty tight, but if it's kinked off to one side or the other, the harder you pull from one side or the other, you can actually tweak that peep sight a little bit. But the most helpful tool that you can use is just an Allen wrench. Wrap it around a little bit and just pull it nice and tight. Make sure everything's nice and cinched, and we can cut these and burn them. Always burn on the top of stuff so that flame rises. Get that nice and melty. There's so many different ways to tie in peep sights, it's crazy. I like this side. I think it looks nice how that goes on both sides, and it's always held really well for me. And that is one tied in peep sight. Okay, so now we can put on the rest of your accessories if you want. Oh, he's gonna kill you.
Angry boy.
What do you want to do first?
Well, we've got some bow jacks. Now when you put these in, is there a rhyme to the reason?
Nope.
Like on location or?
Oh, location wise, there probably is. You could probably play around with it location wise. I always try to get mine lined up more up towards the limb pocket itself, and then I'll flip it over once I get them both in, and I'll try to get them like kind of in the same spot. So I'm about an inch or so off, Then the max jack stabilizer.
I can do this part.
So last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go back outside, and we are gonna actually set his draw cable for his drop away. So for this, every time we draw a bow, I like to put an actual arrow in it. That way if this was to let go or something was to happen, he was to hit the trigger, all that energy can be put into the arrow, not into the bow, and you don't destroy it. But basically how I do a QAD ultra rest is I will get this somewhat tight but not super tight so that it can pull tension on there, and then as he draws it will self-set itself. So you just need to drop back and then you can let it down. Okay. So the cable set itself. Now I always like to pull a little bit of tension back down, and then I'll screw and tighten that up. We're going to be shooting at point blank because you need to just be comfortable shooting first. Last time, the last time Jordan shot a bow was a long time ago. 4 or 5 years ago now, I bet, at least.
Yeah,
and
we were trying to decide if I was lefty or righty.
Yeah, and he shot my old Matthews that I had, and he hit his arm, probably the worst I've ever seen anybody hit his arm, and he almost passed out. And so we need to get him over that fear before we like really start fine-tuning his form and his pin. So
I'm not going to think about that too much.
I would,
because I've got a lot of other things to think about, like my form and where the bow should be.
yeah.
I'm not really too scared about that right now. I should be, but I'm not.
But I'm going to dig around and try to find an arm guard for him anyway. I have one somewhere. I just don't remember where I put it, but we're going to put some layers on because it's freezing cold out, and we're going to go shoot a couple arrows probably, and just so he can shoot his bow.
Oh,
whoa.
it's all ice down there. Watch out.
So I would say probably right here is fine.
Okay.
And just when you draw back, just put your top pin center of the target.
Okay.
And where it hits. Don't necessarily worry about hitting anything. Just get this first shot out so you can kind of get a feel of it, and then we can go from there as we progress and get sideways to the target. Yep. So again, when you draw back, that hand's more of just a cradle for the bow, not necessarily a grip.
Right.
Put your thumb right in behind your neck, string on the point of your nose, center everything, and squeeze it off. Brr, that wind's cold.
Feels good, huh?
Tilt your head up a little bit more, and then bury this into your tip of your nose. Just shoot it to see, just so you can.
That was dead center.
Yep. Well, we're gonna keep shooting for a little bit, I think, and we got some form to work on, but we're just gonna get the, just throw some arrows down range, let him get comfortable with the setup, and let him kind of figure out what's gonna work for him as far as anchor points go. But again, I know this wasn't like a super in-depth bow setup. We'll get more into that when I get my expedition bow. I hope you guys like it. We appreciate you watching. And we'll see you.
Don't be too harsh on me.
Yeah, don't be too hard on them. Don't be too hard on me. Again, I'm not a professional bow tuner by any stretch of the imagination. This is just the simple things you can do at home. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the woods or water
soon.
Soon.
Thanks for hanging in there.